Good morning, everybody. How's everybody feeling out there? Just wanted to come in, first off, tell you guys I love you. Welcome to this beautiful Thursday. And man, I've been reading a little bit about, right here. You guys have read this book? It's called Propaganda. What's up, everybody? So stoked to be here. But it just seems to me like I've been on this kind of bender about like social engineering and what's happening in the media and what's going on. And I kind of thought to myself, what's my goal of, if I'm going to make a video, what is it that I want to share with people? And I thought to myself, I'd kind of like to be the guy that kind of pulls back the curtain and shows you the Wizard of Oz. Like, he's not this huge, powerful individual. He's more of like a short little Rumpelstiltskin that has a big microphone. And in order to be less affected by the powers of propaganda, it's imperative to truly understand what propaganda is. So I'm going to start off with like a sentence that I think is really important. And that sentence is, so long as one engages in group identification, their mind and behavior will be changed by the enduring influence of group psychology. What's up, Matt? And so group identification renders the masses manipulatable. Think about that. When we identify ourselves as one subset of the whole, we're easily manipulatable. That means it's easier to target us if we just identify with part of who we are. And that's why you see so much division right now. That's why you see so much media, pandering to certain group A or group B or group C. They want to continually divide us so that we don't see ourselves as an actual whole. Neil, Tunny, I love you so much, man. I hope you had an awesome birthday. So with that being said, I'm just going to read a little bit about, this book is called Propaganda, and it's by Edward Bernays. And he's like the Michael Jordan of propaganda. So it'll probably be a quick video, but I just wanted to go over a few parts, and then we're going to continue to do a little bit of series on it and stuff, so that I think once people understand what's happening, it makes it much more difficult for the actual propaganda to be effective. It's kind of like a magic trick. If I show you a cool magic trick, you're like, whoa, that's a pretty cool trick. But then if I show you how I do that trick, you're not going to want to watch the trick anymore, because you realize it's just a con. And so is all this garbage coming out of the media right now. I'm sure everybody knows that, but I think just a continued spotlight onto some of their tactics will definitely help people feel a little bit better about what's going on, and maybe give you some sort of a ammunition to be against it. So let me read a little bit right here. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. Our invisible governors are, in many cases, unaware of the identity of their fellow members in the inner cabinet. They govern us by their qualities of natural leadership, their ability to supply needed ideas, and by their key position in the social structure. Whatever attitude one chooses toward this condition, it remains a fact that in almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons, a trifling fraction of our 120 million, who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. So let me add that to what you're seeing and what this presidential campaign is kind of shaping up. And in my opinion, both sides are dirty. Like, Neither side cares about you or me. I don't care if they have a blue tie or a red tie. They don't care. They don't care about the guy that goes to work. They don't care about the woman that has 3 kids. They don't care about your kid going to school. What these people care about, these are the useful idiots that were talked about in like the Gulag Archipelago and things like that. So if you look, I'll just use the Democratic Party for this point, and then I'm going to use an example of the Republican Party, because I feel equally ashamed of what they're doing to us as people. But if you look at the Democratic Party, look who they ran in the beginning. They had Tulsi, they had Andrew Yang. They had what they did is they divided up the groups, right? Just like this, just like propaganda. So they took someone who was gay, and then they had that person go out and speak to that community and take their money. Then you had Tulsi Gabbard, who is a veteran, who went to the VFWs, and she went to Gold Star Parents and talked about how horrible war is and how horrible it is. And she took all their money, and then she gave it to Joe Biden, who's going to send our kids back to war. Now, you can argue that maybe she didn't know, or you can argue that Andrew Yang didn't know. However, I don't know how they couldn't know. It seems to me they made a conscious decision to exploit the very group that they were tight with and then give it back to the actual party so that party could take money from people they wouldn't normally get it from. Does that kind of make sense? Like, you know, a lot of the veterans, my dad's a veteran, and I live in Hawaii that has so many veterans. And if you want to extract money from that group of people, you have to have the right person to do that. And that person was Tulsi, right? If you want to extract money from the gay community, you have to have the right person to do that. You got like Andrew, he was the right person to do that. So on a higher level, the party, be it Republican or be it Democratic, they got to go out and find this particular niche of people to go to that group and extract the money and funds from them. And that's what you're seeing here. That's what you're seeing in this debate. You know, it's almost, let me just read a little bit more just to try to unpack a little bit about what you can see here. I want to read and give some commentary, but I would prefer that people read the book and then actually come up with their own ideas, because my ideas may not be, you may see an example that I don't see, and vice versa. So, modern propaganda is a consistent, enduring effort to create or shape events to influence the relations of the public to an enterprise, idea, or group. The practice of creating circumstances and of creating pictures in the minds of millions of persons is very common. Virtually no important undertaking is now carried on without it. Whether the enterprise be building a cathedral, endowing a university, marketing a moving picture, floating a large bond issue, or electing a president. Sometimes the effect on the public is created by a professional propagandist, sometimes by an amateur deputed for the job. The important thing is that it is universal and continuous, and in its sum total of its regimenting the public mind every bit as much of an army regiment the bodies of its soldiers. So, just I'm gonna do a bunch more on the whole social engineering of our society, but this is a very important book, Propaganda by Edward Bernays, whose uncle was Sigmund Freud. And if you want to know something even more disturbing, I think one of the owners of Netflix is like a direct descendant of Mr. Bernays. So that just leads you to understand, whatever you see on TV, whatever like documentaries, like if you watch Netflix and think about all the documentaries on Netflix right now. Think about everything that's popular on TV. What message is that sending to people? Like, they know people are home. They know people aren't working. So right now people are in a state in which they're going to watch these particular documentaries and be persuaded. I would like to try to persuade you. Whatever you see on Netflix, whatever you see on TV, do the opposite. Do the opposite of what those people want. Like, that's the American spirit. The American spirit is to be rebellious. The American spirit is to kind of be like Briar Rabbit. Remember Briar Rabbit? He was the rabbit that was born into the briar field, and he was a bit of a troublemaker, and he just kept crushing the wolf. Remember, the wolf tried to catch him all the time, and he just made the wolf look dumb all the time. And then finally one day the wolf catches him, and the wolf's like, man, I've had it with you, Briar Rabbit. What's the worst thing you want? What's the worst thing in the world for you? And Briar Rabbit goes, well, you could do anything you want. You can kill me, do whatever. Just don't throw me in the briar patch. And the wolf goes, oh, all right. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna throw you in the briar patch. So then the wolf takes Briar Rabbit and he throws him in the briar patch. And then the Briar Rabbit just rolls around. He's like, I was born here. I was born here. I got you again. Runs away. Anyways, I hope that all of you try to be Briar Rabbit. Be a thorn in the side of authority. Question everything. I love you guys. Aloha.